All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone, to Friday Night Beer and Watch Talk. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steve the Watch Corner. Over this way, Simon, watch the time 8. Down below Simon is Adrian Sales, somewhere in time. And, of course, who needs no introduction, is Mark from Long Island Watch.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you.
Before we go on, everybody, I just want to set what the format's going to be for today's show. So today, basically, we all have 2 questions apiece. Yes, there we go. So we have two questions apiece. We're going to go around the room. I'm going to start first, go to Simon and Adrian. We're going to ask Mark a question, and then one more. So there's 2 questions apiece. Then after that, we promise we'll open up the comments and questions to the audience. So please just hold your questions until after we get through our set of 2 questions apiece. We appreciate everybody being here. Mark, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on. I really appreciate it. And all 3 of us are very humbled, and we just thank you for coming on tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Steve, very quickly, can I make one suggestion? Obviously, prior to going on to obviously the questions, as we always do every week, do you think it'd be worth doing a wrist shot?
Yes, I think we do. We're going to do a wrist shot, and if anybody's drinking water or beer, it doesn't matter. But we're going to start with our guest, Mark. What are you wearing on your wrists today?
How do you know I'm wearing 2, right? So,
if anybody's drinking water or beer,
D Sub 50, which is a new release from Damasco.
Nice.
And then I'm wearing an Islander Monster.
Of course, nice.
A white dial, and I'm literally surrounded by watches. But yeah, those are the 2 on my wrist.
Nice, beautiful. Now I gotta confess real quick, Mark, that I want the Kanji Wave Monster Islander. I don't own any of your watches. I have dealt with your company, and it's great customer service. I bought bracelets, and that is on my radar next because I want to do a review on it. And I love the Kanji Wave Lume dial, so that's what I'm getting from you next.
Sweet. It's a favorite.
I'll go next. I know it's kind of stinky with the lighting, but I have the Gallant Quartz Day-Night Complication on a Sacrilege Zanea leather red stitching strap, which I know is crazy, and I've been getting a lot of crap for this tonight. And I am just drinking good old H2O today. So now we'll go to Simon.
Yeah, guys, I'm wearing my modded Casio. I don't know if you saw the video by Jody where he spoke about modding this watch. So what he did was he popped a sapphire crystal in it, and he put it on a solid stainless steel bracelet with mill clasp. So I modded it myself. Quite proud of it. Obviously, I'm not saying it's expert standard or anything because I'm not a professional a watch repairer. But it's come out pretty nice. I quite like it.
Very nice.
That's what I'm rocking today.
Cool.
Nice.
So Adrian, that'll be you next.
My go, is it right? I am wearing today the Blomberg bullhead chronograph.
Cool.
Oh wow.
Cool.
Yeah, piece of Swiss engineering, new company, so you've probably not heard of them, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Got a weird shape to it.
I saw a Blomberg watch 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that must be around about the time they started.
Yeah, it was on the wrist of a magazine publisher, and I asked him what it was. It was a curved. I remember it was a curved case, and I remember it being quite pricey.
Yeah,
I think that they may be a bit overpriced. I think they're around about 795 Swiss francs.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe you can see that. Where are we?
Yeah, the curved case. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
See, I quite like that feature. I quite like the fact that it's higher at the top than it is the bottom.
Right.
I think it actually lends to telling the time quite well. I think that's quite a cool feature.
Right. That's awesome. You gotta love a bullhead. I'm telling you, that's awesome. So
it's my first bullhead, and I dropped onto it on eBay. Really good price. It was no 795 Swiss francs. Let me tell you.
Cool.
Nice. So, look, we'll go ahead and start with the questions. I'm going to start. We're going to go to Simon and down to Adrian. So, Mark, you knew about this one. So, this is the heavy hitter question that we asked every single one of our guests. Actually, this is Adrian down the bottom's question, but he wanted to ask you 2 different questions. So, I said, I'll field this one for Mark. So, basically, everyone, the question is, Mark, if you can only keep 5 watches in your collection, what are they, Why? And you have to show them.
Okay, well, I have them all here, and it was a great question. It actually forced me to go into my bedroom and open every watch box that I have.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm actually currently, I think it's going to be like next week, I'm having a custom piece of furniture built that's going to hold like 200 watches. So it's going to make something like this a lot easier. I'll be able to slide drawers open. But let's start with the oldest. So this is my dad's Datejust.
Nice.
Oh, nice. That's a sweet piece.
1986, 36 millimeter. I guess it's known as the Bateman Rolex, which I had no idea until TGV told me that it was in a movie, because I'm not really culturally savvy. So this is my dad's watch. When he passed 7 years ago, it was given to me, and believe it or not, I mean, well, not believe it or not, it works great. Got scratches on it, and you know, it's a watch that I remember him obviously wearing when I was working with him, and then I remember him setting it at night, winding it, and everything else. So it's a good memory watch kind of thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's
a great story in history.
Yeah, family heirloom to pass down to one of your kids, Mark. That's amazing.
Absolutely, I will never part with that one. So let's go in order of operations then. Let's see. It would probably be this one. Each watch is going to have meaning, right? So this is the Swatch Irony Body and Soul collection. Is it running? It's probably not running. I pulled them all out. So if it's not running, if you're one of those people, it's going to drive you bananas.
It started to do something. So I'm
There you go. Now it's going. You can see the balance at the top.
Yeah.
Nice.
I picked this up, or actually my wife got this. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time. It was right around 2000, 1999. And it pretty much sparked my interest in, I was a fan of watches, but this was the watch that you could, flip around. It's a 2801, which is a non-serviceable, basically 2824 and skeletonized. It's never been serviced because you can't take the case off because the crystals are all glued on. But it got me looking with a magnifying glass, and I would see how all the parts worked. And, obviously being an engineer, it really, it kind of just, watch number one, always memories of watches. Watch number two, mechanical watches, and how cool they are and how they're just little microcosms. I would go in and I would look at how the palette and escapement were playing with each other, and I'd slow down the movement just to check it all out. So lots of good memories.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay. So we're going to jump then like a year or two. This is going to be 2003.
Right.
So this is an Elise open heart mechanical watch, obviously. It's got an ETA in it. And this is the watch that basically started Island Watch.
Cool.
This was the watch that was on my buddy's wrist when I went to lunch with them. It was college friends, right around, not long after the Swatch, maybe 2001, 2002 or so. And that's the watch I saw, and I asked him how much it was, and the whole conversation started, and I was like, wow, it was just like, whatever it was $100 or $90. And I was like, holy moly, that's amazing. Let me see if I can go out and procure them from the guy and sell them on eBay. And I actually wound up selling a different watch, but I contacted the guy, and he made me an offer for 10 watches for $70 each. I took him up on it, and I sold them on eBay. Some at a profit, some at a loss, but that basically started the whole business.
So sorry to interject, Mark. So that's how you got started in terms of watch selling and stuff, yeah?
That's what started me. So I started on eBay. I did that. I sold 10. It was a different watch, but it was a big date mechanical watch.
Okay.
I bought another 10. I did it again. I bought another 10. I did it again. And then by 2003, I launched a website, and then that is kind of morphed into what you see today.
The rest is history, as they say.
Right.
The rest is still going into history.
Nice. Well, Mark, this was an open-loaded question. I wasn't expecting that with your watches, so that's pretty cool, man.
No, it's watches that I, honestly, I don't wear them, well, except for the next one and the one after that. I don't wear them a ton. They kind of just sit.
No disrespect to anyone else we've asked this question to. What I'm liking is this is sort of like a historical
It's a trip.
Do you know what I mean? It's pretty cool. It's sort of like a horology tour.
Right.
It is. I thought about like I have my first real dive watch, which is a Q&Q dive watch. But I was like, that one's cool, but Dad's Rolex really is what gives me the memories. And then, the Swatch is really the mechanical watch that kind of got me into appreciating all things mechanical.
Very
Okay,
cool.
ready? Number 4.
Okay.
Number 4.
This is my Squale Matic.
Squale.
Oh, nice.
Love those things.
That's precisely what I say. I simply love this thing. I wear it a lot. It normally delivered on a tan leather strap. I put it on white rubber. And I don't know. It's just, it evokes, to me, this evokes summer. It's all about summer.
Yeah, I was going to say it is a summer watch.
Right.
I love the color. The color, it pops beautiful. Yeah, and the play of blue and white, which is obviously which are my company colors. Just always loved it. I wear it a lot. It's definitely a watch I take with me if I go on vacation or something. So that's the Squale.
Awesome.
And then the last one, you probably guess what the last one is.
The spring drive.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Okay.
This is because again, it's everything that means something to me.
Right.
I thought about the spring drive. The spring drive is out, so this is just the first Islander that I ever got.
Awesome.
That I ever made. This was the
Very
first one to roll out of the assembly line, if you will. And since the brand means so much to me, this is the one that kind of, it's like Scrooge McDuck has a lucky dime. It's kind of like my lucky dime of sorts. It's always out. Again, it gets worn, but not all the time. But it just. You said 5. If you said 10, there'd be another 5.
Right.
If you said 20, there'd be another 15.
Again, Mark, what you showed in terms of what people tend to choose for their 5 watches is sentimental value is sort of the highest on the list.
Yes.
People choose in terms of, because obviously you can't put a price on sentimental value because obviously it has so much history and stuff. So I like I said, I like the fact that all watches have a story.
Right.
And I like the fact that it comes to the fore when we ask people this question in terms of,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was driving me mad all week this week, Mark, trying to figure out what you were going to pick for your 5 watches.
Because
it really
probably, I guess 2 of them I really never wear on camera much. I mean, the Swatch has been in watch and learns because of its open architecture.
Right.
The Elise Open Heart, I probably did for story time once. But yeah, I mean, there's many other watches that are just kind of sitting away. And every time I look at them, I know I would never sell them. But I kind of never really sell any watches anyway of personal effects. I keep almost all of them.
Awesome.
How many do you have in your collection then?
I don't know.
You don't know. Good answer.
So the 200 unit case will hold everything that will hold everything that's in my dresser now, with room for others. But the problem is that Islanders I have a lot of, because a lot of them find their way onto my wrist, whether it's a prototype or a sample. I'm smitten with one, whatever.
Right.
So I probably have 20 or 30 Islanders. So I mean, it's a large part of the collection, if you will.
Awesome.
Yeah. And can I ask you a question? Day to day, do you wear 2 watches? Is that something you generally do?
That's something I really do.
Oh, no. I didn't know if it was just for the effect of when you do your wrist checks at the start.
Right.
Much to the chagrin of my wife and other people, I really do it.
Awesome.
So if you was to wear them for a couple of days, and obviously you're wearing automatic or mechanical watches, and obviously they keep different time, does that bug you when they're off?
No.
It doesn't.
I'm one of those people that I don't care if it hacks, doesn't matter to me.
Right.
If, obviously if it's off by 10 or 20 minutes, then I'll change it. But I don't wear them long enough for that to happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and go to your question now, Simon, so we can start.
Okay, the problem was we started touching upon stuff as we were talking. I know. I don't want it to, So my first question was going to be, what watch got you into watch collecting?
Right, but he hit that. Right. Kinda.
Well, I mean, let's think about that. What got me into watch collecting? Oh, yeah, it would be I know exactly what it is. It's a Tissot 2-timer.
Okay.
That I got in 1988. I unfortunately don't have it within arm's reach of me. It's a digital watch. It's an Ani-Digi, and it's a little bit skeletonized, so you can see the quartz oscillator and some other stuff. But that's the watch. I was in Grand Cayman, so I was at 1988, so I was 12, and I looked at it and I said to my parents, "I want to buy it." And my mom said to my dad, "It's $60." And I let him spend $60 on a watch. And my dad loved watches. And he said, "Absolutely, if he wants it." And I bought it. And I still have it. You know, it needs a little TLC, but unfortunately, Tissot doesn't make parts for it anymore.
Oh, God.
But it runs. The strap's a little worse for the wear. Don't really wear it much, but that's the one.
Cool.
Nice one. That'd be you, Adrian.
That's me. Well, I'm actually going to start by saying, Mark, thank you very much for releasing the salmon dial, because my wife, you've got one there, yeah, but yeah, and you're out of stock, and my wife is demanding that I get a one.
We'll talk later. Yeah,
I think she's wearing one of yours now, actually.
Oh, awesome. It was very nice. It was a 125-piece run that sold out in 7 hours. Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I never really.
Right,
clearly I need to make more, but I will.
I was going to say
definitely.
This,
do that.
You need to make that watch. I think I commented on it. Like it was
really. Everything's frozen.
Is it for
you've frozen
me or him?
No, he's good. Eh?
I'm good.
No, Simon has.
Can you hear me?
Oh, he's back now. He's back.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I am getting thunder and lightning, just so you know.
It's you.
It's actually thundering right now and pouring.
Oh, nice. So my proper question is: do you have any watch selling regrets and subsequent rebuys? Have you fallen down that rabbit hole?
No, because I never really. There's one watch I sold, or maybe two. I sold an orange pumpkin. It was a Givril, a GV2, years ago. Didn't really like it, so I sold it. I did sell and then the other watch that I remember selling was an NB Jaeger, and I wound up selling the brand eventually. So I did regret selling it because I wanted that watch back, and they hadn't made it anymore. But other than that, not really. I'm not really a catch and release kind of guy. I know a lot of my customers are, but I'm more of an accumulator.
I've tried that, but I mean, I've only ever done it once myself. Sold something and regretted it, and then it took me 2 years to find another one,
right?
Because they were discontinued. So yeah, but I mean that's interesting that there's only the two. I presumably you'd never be able to find them again.
Probably not. No, I don't even. Man, Givril, I wouldn't even. It was a black watch with orange accents, orange highlights. It was really nice, but no. And then I believe NB Jaeger no longer exists or something.
It's not a name that I'm familiar with, I must admit.
No, it was from Martin Braun, who was a high-end German watchmaker. He launched his little offshoot brand.
Yeah, I've not heard of mine, to be honest. Right. So I couldn't.
So there you go, Steve. You can have another question now.
Okay, well,
we might very patiently.
We might. Well, I got three because I figured we're five. I mean, Mark, you did a good job of going through your five so quick. Most people, it takes a while. So, and you know what I'm impressed about, Mark, that you actually knew the years of the watches, which I think you're the first guest we've had on here that's actually rattled off the years of the watches. So that's
I'm a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy, but I could talk forever about them.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, here's my second question is, I want to know, because I've tried it, Mark, rocking the two, and I can't. I've almost damaged the watch before our show doing that. I just want to know what started you with the two watches on each wrist. I'm very intrigued with that, and I'm just very interested on guys that do that, because besides you, Mark, the other guy who does it, which is your fanboy, is wristwatch weirdo. He does it as well.
What started me? I started doing it, I would say roughly 10 years ago or so,
Right.
simply because I had a lot of watches and enjoyed wearing them, wanted to cycle through them faster. It's
Right.
also believe it or not, it's a talking point of sorts.
Gotcha.
In the beginning, it feels a little weird, no doubt. Wearing a watch, I'm a lefty, so I'm normally on the right wrist. So
Right.
wearing it on the left felt very strange in the beginning. But just like anything else, eventually you just get used to it, and you don't mind it at all. But I would say really just to cycle through watches faster, because I like them so much.
Okay.
As weird as it sounds, yes, I get eyeballs, I get looks, I get.
Right.
I was gonna ask that precise thing, whether it's
Right.
just to be a little bit greedy, so you can just get through watches more quickly.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it just, I don't know. It's just something I like. It's just something I guess I like to do. I
Right.
mean, you know, you could wear a bracelet on the other wrist, or
Right.
women or men will wear multiple rings.
That's what I do.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So
True. But it's just funny, Mark, because one night I tried it. I think it was when I got this watch. It's a micro brand. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Seven Sins watches. So it's from the Sharp brothers. So I got one in.
The day indicator changes a sin for every day, right?
Right, and it's got the switchblade knife for the hour and minute hand, and it's got the blood droplet for the second hand. So basically, I was being cute one night when we were getting ready to start our show, and I said, you know something? I'm rocking that on my one wrist, and I'm going to rock another one on this. But you know something, Mark? Before the show started, 15 minutes before it started, I almost damaged the one on my right hand because I'm a righty, not a lefty.
Right.
And I caught it, and I'm like, thank you. I was like so stressed over that, but I'm like, never again. I was just trying to be cute for the show, and
Right.
it almost was an epic fail.
You have to get used to it. I can't wear all watches on my dominant wrist. I can't wear I won't wear a Zin on my dominant wrist because it's just too bulky, too heavy, and it starts to crash into my hand and hurts. But like I said, if you just keep at it, get used to it.
Gotcha. Yep, I guess. Yep. All right,
Okay,
Simon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does that mean I can go
I
next?
think
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on. Come on, Simon.
So yeah, my second question is: out of all of your Islander watches, what is your favorite?
Probably, it's funny. It kind of changes. You know, I love this one, the white and the blue monster. But it would go back. I have one here. It would go back to the 18, I guess. Eventually, the ISL 18, the one with. That's not it. Missing a bezel. I got stuff everywhere. It would be the blue dial, the one that kind of looks like a Yachtmaster.
Nice.
That's the one. I mean, it's the best seller, but I just happen to really, I love it. I love the blue color that was chosen. It works. I love the play of the ceramic bezel, the embossed bezel. It just pops very nicely. So that was actually almost the choice because I have one. Besides, I did this one because this was my first one. That's why I did this one. But I almost picked my 18. Almost.
I've got to say, Mark, thank you for your Memorial Weekend sale because I did purchase a watch.
Wow.
Nice.
The 50. It's a ISL 51.
That's the one. That's winning to me at the moment. So everyone look out for a review of that watch. I will be featuring it on my channel.
Awesome.
So thank you for the sale. It came in at a very good price. And again, very well specced out for the price as well. So much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So Adrian, you're up next.
Cool. Yeah. With your Islander brand, I mean, you've got quite an extensive range. Is there? Have you got anything kind of? Would you do a chronograph, mechanical chronograph, or is that going to kind of push a bit too far, kind of pushing the price up a bit?
So I would say anything's possible, right? I mean, yeah, the future is boundless at this point. There will definitely be a quartz chronograph coming out because that's already in the works.
A quartz one.
A quartz one. Would I do an automatic? I mean, as you said, it would be pricey, and your choices for automatic movements in the reliable sector are not that many. The NE88, wow, the NE88 and the Valjoux. and I'd probably go any 88 because I like the Seiko, but yeah, pricey. It would be a pricey Islander. It would be a pricey Islander.
Right.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, yeah, I appreciate that, and it's kind of not what you're about. But yeah, I mean, I guess the other way to go would be Swiss, but that's a whole different ball game, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, that's a different. Well, I mean, at the wholesale level, well, the Solita chrono is I forgot what the number is offhand, 300 or something, but it's really more of just what the overall package would come in at price. And I guess I'm going to find out because I am doing a Swiss movement GMT, not Swiss made, Swiss movement, and I'll see where. And I know what price that's going to go out at more than likely. So I'll see what the reception is to that, and then knowing how much more a chronograph would be, I'd have to see from there.
With that being said, Mark, is there sort of like a ceiling to where you'd want to price your Islanders in terms of? Because you seem to like to make them quite affordable, don't you? Like them to come in quite affordable.
Yeah. I've been online for 18 years, so. I still actually do think that just about the limit for 90% of people is about $1,000 where they'll buy something sight unseen without walking into a store first. So that's kind of my mental ceiling for things. There's very few watches that can hold their muster online, between $1,000 and $4,000 or so, whether it be a Marathon or a Damasco or then other brands, Zinn. Those are brands that you don't, these are brands that are not in any stores anywhere. So you kind of have to take people's word for it that it's worth the money. So I've always felt that like $1,000 is kind of like, I think is a mental ceiling.
Would you not say then in as a caveat to what you've said in terms of obviously some watches you can only really buy online, which makes YouTube reviewers even more important in terms of the fact that we can bash out content for people to have a look at the watch without being able to get their hands on the watch. Do you understand what I mean? It gives them an insight to the watch prior to buying it.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
So I was saying, would you say that it's even more vitally important that there's obviously people that can put out content for people to see these? Because I know for myself, a reason that I started my channel was because oftentimes when I was buying watches, there were sometimes I couldn't find the watch. And I was peeved off and I was like, oh, God.
Right.
That's why now I will still feature watches knowing they won't do too well, just for that one person that might want to see if they want to buy it or not. Does that make sense?
They almost, they go hand in hand, right? So internet retail has almost borne out this whole necessity of online reviewers as well. So I would say absolutely, because, take me, for example, granted, I own the watches, so of course I'll review them favorably, but that's almost the only place you can see them is on a review. And if I didn't exist, I'd have to rely on people like you to do it.
Right.
So yeah, definitely they go hand in hand, 100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that quality-wise, your watches definitely, they are certainly easily worth the money. I mean, they're a really good buy, especially for somebody who's trying to get into mechanical watches.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be difficult to try and kind of keep your range fluid.
Right.
Where you draw the line and where you add new stuff. I've only had one so far, which is the one that my wife's wearing. She won't let me have it back. I think the only downside I found with that watch was the strap that it came on. It was just a bit meh.
Okay.
But generally speaking, everything else was great. She loves it. So that's why I've got to get the salmon dial. I don't know which one I want myself yet, though.
Well, I guess I hope. Look, I could go all night with Mark because, Mark, I started watching you years ago, and I really started off because, look, I got to tell you a little story real quick, Mark. I've only had my YouTube channel since March, okay? So I got lots of friends that had them, and this guy down here at the bottom, Adrian, and then Average Joe Watch Reviews kind of talked me in, basically, to starting a channel because I used to do Instagram Live and all that. But I started watching you with your Watch and Learned, and I really like them because although I've been collecting watches, Mark, for 20 some years, I appreciate, those. I could never do them, Mark. I got to give you props. On the camera, doing stuff is so difficult. I don't think I'm ever going to attempt to do a tutorial on anything. Look, I did an unboxing of this watch here, Mark, and I put a little cert in the video. I had to add it because I didn't take the sticker off the front of the crystal because looking through the camera, I couldn't see it. And the dial just didn't look clear, and that was why. So I had to come back on and state that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard. I got to give anybody props that does tutorials on the camera. And I mean, that's how you got me hooked, was your Watch and Learn. That's how it started, man.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's why I won't do tutorials. Because I've tried filming myself doing them, and it doesn't matter how many times you've done something, and I don't know how you do it, Mark. I mean, I can sit there and I can change all sorts of bits and pieces. As soon as I get my hands underneath the camera, forget it. It's a road crash.
There's definitely like a pressure aspect where you realise it's being recorded, so you sort of second guess yourself as well.
Yeah,
I think there's
probably.
Obviously, I've recorded a couple of things and I've had all intention of uploading it. But guess what? They've not made it onto the channel. So appreciation for the fact that you're able to do it whilst being recorded and actually make it good enough for people to watch and learn from.
Yeah, I've done whole videos, and then I realized when I'm done, the plastic thing I've done before, I realized there's an eyelash like stuck to the crystal or something, or there's a piece of dirt on, whatever, or my glove has like my cuticle ripped, and I actually see a spot of blood coming through my glove. I'm like, wow. you gotta be kidding me. And I am, if my video takes 20 minutes, or not 20, probably 30 minutes of shooting time, I edit it in about 35 minutes. I mean, I'm not just total no. There's no flash, no nothing. I cut out the parts I have to get cut out, and I compile it up. I give credit to people who really, really do a bang up editing job, and different things pop up, and different graphics happen, and that's just totally outside of my domain.
There are some fantastic channels out there that do that kind of thing. So I mean, to hear you say that you edit in like 35 minutes. But your videos are always, they're always spot on. Yeah. So that's obviously something that you've kind of developed over time, presumably. Yeah, the speed.
I pop on my headphones. I just play it back, and most things that you see are single take. When I shoot, I don't script anything. I just verbal diarrhea. I just start talking, and usually what comes out is decent.
Nice. Well,
I think what we need to do though is we need to get Mark to send the link to Mark's video on resizing a bracelet.
Yes.
Oh well, I have I have 2 videos that crested 1 million views, and they're both sizing videos.
That's interesting.
Well, you know something, Mark, and it's crazy because let me tell you a little something funny. Okay, this guy down here, Adrian, we send each other care packages. Okay, he sent me a Pulsar analog digital with the what do you call those links? The folded links. Okay, so Mark, I watched your tutorial on how to do it, and man, it just wasn't happening. So I took it to my watchmaker Tony. My watchmaker Tony has the actually tool. There is a tool. An actual tool made to do that, okay? And even with that tool, Mark, it's a pain in the rear end sometimes, man.
It is. People usually wind up bending the bracelet, or doing something stupid, or cutting themselves, or anything.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's just insane. But you just make it like with the way you did it. And then I was laughing at the one with your pin and collar. I am so intimidated by pin and collar, Mark. Like, it's unbelievable, man. Like, big time.
Yeah,
I don't really have a problem with normal pin and collar where the pin's inside. I have a problem with Seiko's pin and collar. I think it's terrible. I think having it from either side while sort of balancing a plate on your head. It just is.
Yeah, it all started with the monsters. The original monsters had the collar on the outside. The turtles had the collar on the outside. Then they got smart. The Sarbs, the Samurais, I believe, the Paddy divers, the Paddy quartz divers, they now have the collar on the inside. which just makes a whole hell of a lot of sense.
It's so much better. It just makes your life that bit easier. I don't understand why they contemplated doing that.
Exactly.
I had it with my Save the Ocean turtle, and thankfully my wife has a bit more dexterity than me, so she managed to save me. But it was a bit of a nightmare. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
That was after he rang me up in tears.
You know the problem is, Mark, on some of these watches, you don't realize it till you get into the resizing that it's a pin and collar. Here's the thing: if you don't realize it, just say you're just a novice that's not even really into watches. You tap it out. You don't realize the collar just fell on your carpet. You stick the pin in, and guess what? You put it on the wrist, and the pin's shooting out. So,
from my perspective, obviously, I don't know as much as Mark, but normally when it doesn't have a directional arrow, it's normally a pin and collar. From my experience, when there's no directional arrow on the actual bracelet inside, then
on the underside, I unfortunately get customers all the time when they'll say, I bought a whatever from you, and I brought it to the authorized Seiko dealer to resize, and it fell off my wrist. It's a piece of junk, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, unfortunately, they lost the part, or half the time it's actually still on the push out tool because the collar slips right over it. People don't even realize it.
Actually, with those pin and collar, once you've successfully removed a link and you got your pin and you got your collar and you put it in the little plastic bag and you put it in the box and you seal it up, when you come back to it, where does the collar go?
It's gone. It's with all the left socks that are lost in the dryer.
It's the same dilemma as when you put your Christmas lights away at Christmas all nice and neatly, and you go back the following year and it's still
a tangled mess.
Yeah. So it's the same sort of dilemma.
It's crazy.
I actually, my daughter has actually handed me a question she'd like me to ask Mark. Okay. I know we need to take some questions from the guys in the chat. Now, my daughter, she does like her watches. She's coming up for 16. She also likes the salmon dial. So it looks like you need to find two of those. But she wants to know, do you have a favorite watch?
It's a good question. I have a favorite watch.
Out of 200, that can't be very easy to choose.
Yeah, it might be this one.
Okay.
I love this thing. I wear it a lot. I mean, I've got a ton of watches, as I said. But out of all of them, so let's say I had 100 watches, which is probably about right or something, 115 or so. There's maybe 25 that might take out every now and again and put what we call regular rotation. The rest of them are unfortunately, they're kind of trapped and they never see the light of day. But this is one that consistently comes out. I get my Ulysse Nardin Maxi Marine chronometer. I also absolutely love.
Nice.
I used to wear that one to death. And my Yachtmaster. Love my Yachtmaster.
Nice.
Yeah. How can you pick one? You can't.
Exactly.
Right. Well,
it's like keeping your favorite child, isn't it? It's a little bit tricky.
Oh, that's easy. I got three. I know. No, I'm kidding.
I do have one more question, Mark, and I think I kind of know the answer to this, but they always say there's no such thing as a dumb question, so I'm going to ask it anyway. I just want to know, and this is my take. Is it you can do such affordable prices on, I'm talking your watches, all your watches on your website, and the Islander do that? Is it due because you don't have to do much advertising because of your brand, and everybody knows? Would that be accurate to say that?
Well, it depends what you're really, honestly, from a business aspect, it depends what you're talking about. If we're talking about an Islander,
right? I
mean, this is, and obviously it's a phrase that is disgustingly used over and over again. There's no middleman for the most part. If anything, I am the middleman. Have a factory that it's all contracted out to. So you're skipping. I did a video on this. Take Seiko, for example.
Okay.
They've got a factory. They make a watch. They sell that watch to Seiko Global. Seiko Global sells that watch to Seiko USA. Seiko USA sells that watch to Seiko Retailer. Seiko Retailer sell that watch to you. So there's markup upon markup upon markup buried in there. and there's obviously MSRPs and stuff that they list that everything is listed at. So your profit margin is totally fixed. In the case of the Islander, I'm eliminating so many people that doesn't really happen. Advertising, that's not really true. I mean, yeah, I don't do print, but who does print now? Oh, I do a little bit of print actually in one magazine. But no, I have a substantial advertising budget, probably more than most people would think. Overhead is certainly low because there's no retail store. That's the biggest one. I would say there's no rent, especially now when nobody is going. Well, I guess now they are, but for a year and change, nobody was going out shopping. So if you had a store, it was a big detriment to you. So that's another one. But as far as other watches, other brands, I really just try to be competitive with market. I don't try to be the cheapest. I don't want to be the cheapest. I want to be the best. I don't want to be the cheapest. If you want low bidder, the low bidder doesn't always have everything else that's great. So I'm kind of not interested in that. I try to sell most brands at what the manufacturer asks me to sell them at. I don't really do gray anymore with virtually anything, just very few models. So unfortunately, margins are kind of fixed in that regard. There is no price fixing, but your prices are fixed.
I think your answer to the question, Mark, is going to shock people. Like you said, that you have a substantial marketing budget. Because I think everybody is just under the impression that, look, this is Mark from Long Island. He don't need that. I mean, that's the impression that I've always thought. So you did answer a question that probably everybody was wondering.
What is I was going to ask, where normally, apart from sort of Instagram, YouTube, in terms of your own YouTube, where would you generally advertise?
AdWords. Google AdWords is one of the biggest consumers of budget.
Really?
Wow.
And what's called Google Shopping. Those pictures that you see where you click on a watch and you want to buy it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, insofar as kind of volume of sales that you get, where do you? I mean, as far I suppose, like with your YouTubers and the Instagram and your own YouTube channel, I mean, how well does that actually work for Long Island Watch?
It's the three main. I guess the four. The four main megaphones would be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the newsletter that goes out twice a week. I would say the most powerful one is probably going to be the toss-up between YouTube and the newsletter. Honestly, they both have an appreciable amount of subscribers, but probably YouTube is probably the bigger one. I think a lot of people go and buy stuff right after they see it. And then would be the newsletter, which comes out religiously Tuesdays and Thursdays for the most part. Instagram does decent, and Facebook's okay. I mean, it does well, but I would say that I know that, like when the salmon dial thing went out, we timed it with Instagram, with YouTube, with my newsletter, and with Facebook. It all went live at the same time. So it's kind of tough to gauge which one did the most, but I pretty much know it's YouTube.
Right. Okay. So when you when you have like the salmon dial is currently out of stock. I mean, how long from like when you order another batch in? I mean, how long does that normally take?
So this is going to be upsetting. It's probably going to be about 90 days. Ooh. 90 to 120 days.
So you might be looking at Christmas time, Adrian, if that's all right.
Yeah, it looks like it. My wife had one for a birthday.
I probably shouldn't do this, but
what is this?
Ooh. What was that, like an exclusive? What
Ryan,
was that?
If Ryan's watching, Ryan, don't die.
Oh, hello.
Nice.
Wow. A blue dial variant.
Yeah, I think this will be hot.
Oh yeah.
That's going to come out.
The same dimensions, Mark, yeah?
Yeah, same watch. Yeah, just different dial, no date. Yeah, I mean, probably about 90 days. I mean, I have a restock of the original Datejusts coming in very soon. The blue, the black, the gray will all come back in. And then, these will go out for another cycle. I mean, I don't, it's always tough for me to tell. I've released watches that I think, I'll be like, wow, these are going to take off. And it just like putts along the runway. And I'm like, oh, man. And then there's some that just freaking lift off like crazy. So it's always tough to know. And planning out production is difficult because, if I'm going to buy 500 watches, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how much they cost to make, but you do the math. It's an appreciable amount of capital. And if you spread that amongst 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 different models, it's a lot of money out of pocket while you're waiting for the return to come in, which is definitely why a ton of micro brands, they'll do a model, it sells out, and they have it 8 months later again because they just simply don't have the capital to to reinvest.
Right.
I must say, I was very impressed with the movement, the 9015. I do quite like the 9015 movement. I think it's a superb movement from Iota, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So among people in the know, I don't know if that's me. I don't think I am, but I've talked to a lot of really experienced watchmakers, and they take the 9015 over the 2824. Which is simply amazing considering even though 9015 is a premium movement, the cost differential between 9015 and an ETA, if you can buy one, is astronomical.
Huh.
It's crazy because I've heard that before, actually. I've heard people say that in terms of the movement. I, to be honest, I don't really like the 8,000 Miota movements personally, but the 9,000, I think they're superb. I think they're fantastic movements.
Yeah, I'll be using it in I have it going into other models.
Oh.
Are you going to do sort of versions as well?
What's that?
Would you get into like the non-date variants as well?
Yeah, I'll do non-date. Power reserve will come. All that stuff. I wish they made a GMT version. It's a shame that nobody really makes a GMT movement except for ETA and Thalita and I guess Soprod.
Huh.
Yeah, and then you're looking at a premium, aren't you? Like you said.
Right.
Do you have a best-selling watch at all? I mean, the one that people kind of tend, it sells out all the time.
Well, the 18, so the ISL 18, that Yachtmaster inspired one, that's the best. That's easily the best-selling watch in the store. It sells like crazy. So I try to order loads of them because it sells, sells day in, day out every day.
What about the the SKX? How does that do now that they're obviously Seiko have killed it?
Well, it's gone from here to here. It's not that I don't have any. I can't get. Well, it's not true. I do get them from time to time, but the prices are ridiculous. I'm charging. I don't even know. I'd have to look. For a J model, $380 or something, which is insanity.
Yeah, but you say that in the UK it would be $100 more than that.
More than that,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
If you're lucky.
It's it went from being my best-selling watch by a long shot. I would sell between all the SKX variants, for I forgot the number, 4,000 or 5,000 a year. It went down to zero.
That's a lot.
It went down to close to zero.
Right.
Wow. So we've been hogging this a bit. Have you got anything,
we got to
Steve?
open it up. Yeah, you're right. Listen, guys, right now I'm going to ask. While I'm asking Mark a kind of crazy question, which I'm so dying to hear what he's going to say. Everybody, start putting your questions for Mark in right now. We're going to start answering. I got kind of a crazy question, Mark, and I think I know what your answer is going to be, but. Would you ever rock an Invicta? I got to ask that for my Invicta crowd that's watching.
It's okay. Nothing wrong with it. I own an Invicta pocket watch.
Okay.
But that's probably the extent of it. Okay. Nothing against the company. I mean, I've spoken to them before.
Right.
I know a little bit of their marketing strategy and stuff, and I probably don't wholeheartedly agree with it.
Right.
But probably not.
Okay. I just want to thank you for being honest with it. I was just wondering because, it is what it is.
So, guys, are we now on to the questions?
Yes, we're doing the question. We're starting with on the wrist. Go ahead, Simon, if you want to say it.
So the question is, Mark, is there any up and coming brands that has impressed you in the recent past?
You know, I follow so few people on Instagram, but the brands that I like, I don't know if you call them up and coming, they're already established. I love Laurier and Notice.
Okay.
I just think they're so cool. I love the designs. I love looking at the watches. I don't own one of either, but I kind of dig what they're doing. And yeah, that would be a brand that I definitely like. Like I said, I think I follow like 20 people on Instagram or something like that, and
Right.
that would be two of the watch companies I actually follow.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, look,
but
Peter, I'm going to read
not
Peter's
Squale.
Well, that's not up and coming.
Right.
And Adrian, sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said, but not Squale. And he said they're not up and coming. They've been there, done that.
Right.
They've been there for 70 years.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to go with PK's question next, Mark, and then Adrian can ask the next one. PK's question is: can you ask Mark where his watches are made and assembled at?
China.
Okay.
People think I'm like scared to say it. I'm not afraid.
I think that's why they asking it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's people think I'm like avoiding the question. I'm not avoiding the question. They're made right now. They are assembled, made in China. I'm very friendly with. Well, I have a few factories, but the main factory turning out right now, I'm very friendly with. We talk literally every day. At 6 a.m. my phone starts because that's when they're.
Right.
You know, that's their evening, and then at night my phone starts again at like 6, 7 o'clock. That's when they're waking up, and we have whole conversations. I know they're.
Mark, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
What do you make of brands like Heimdall?
What? Say it again.
What do you make of brands like Heimdall?
I don't own one. I don't know them. I do know we don't make our watches in the same factories.
No. I wasn't alluding.
No. I'm just kind of because I know people are watching, so just to kind of clear that air, that air. We definitely make them in different factories because I asked them, and they were they were like, absolutely. I asked my factory. They said absolutely not.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
I mean, that doesn't mean they're not getting their parts from the same places or whatever, but that's fine. You know, it's one thing to be a brand and be in Singapore or be in Thailand or be in Hong Kong or be in China and sell onesies, twosies to the US. That's fine. It's a total other thing to bring, you know, thousands of watches a month into this country, go through the customs process and the import process, and then market, retail, and do everything else that I have to do, expenses that these companies don't have, and they don't have them because they're over there.
Right.
But if you ask any of those countries, what's your largest market? I guarantee you, it's the USA.
Right.
So, we're just playing on totally different fields.
Yeah, the reason I was asking wasn't really because of the price comparison, to be honest. It's kind of more borne out by the fact that we've spoken about this before. And this is not against you or anybody else, but I've spoken to people, even speaking to Steve, someone who likes monsters,
big time,
monsters. He just visually didn't like the Heimdall monster, but then he saw yours and he liked yours. And I was just trying to understand the difference because I was sort of like, it starts almost becoming as though I don't mind it because it's an Islander, but I don't like it because it's a Heimdall. But you've not held either of them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
So if you got first-hand experience, it probably would help because you could handle both of them and you could see the little idiosyncrasies or whatever you like.
I mean, I've never held one, and I can't say it's a bad brand. It probably isn't. It's probably a fine brand. It's probably nothing. There's probably absolutely nothing wrong with it. I kind of don't really focus on what other people are doing. I try to focus on what I'm doing. And when a monster case became available to me, I absolutely knew I was going to do a monster because so many people want a monster. So why, you know?
I think the problem with the if let's just say the original monster is the price going. I mean, it just keeps going north.
Yeah.
And now it's absolutely ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Right.
And even used ones
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can attest to that, Mark, and I've been burnt on the last 4. I had to take to my watchmaker, Mark, on my last 2, which was the Halloween and the Sea Monster. Guess what? I had to buy new movements for them because my watchmaker cannot get the parts from Seiko to replace them. I had to buy. I spent $4.50 a piece for those used, and guess what? They lied to me and said that they were in great working condition, and I had to spend another 160. Right, I had to spend another 160 on top of it for my watchmaker to replace the 4R36, which I'm very fortunate. I bought the last 2 on eBay, Mark. That was crazy.
Yeah, I apologize. Does anyone wish to answer the question?
Yes, Leon. Mark,
question.
Adrian, read Leon's question because that's the next one.
So Leon's saying, would you do an alpinist homage?
I don't know. I don't plan on it yet. That's not one of the ones in the pipe, so to speak. So probably not at this time. I'll say I'm pretty certain that wouldn't happen for a while.
I think with the alpinist, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but it's a bit of a polarizing watch. It's one of those ones that you either love it or you hate it.
That's definitely true.
I think if you had a lot of them manufactured, you don't know, you could end up sitting on them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but I would probably easily be able to pull them in for a, well under $600 or $700.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that would owe to the popularity of it.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly popular watch. That's why I thought it was a good question in terms of the alpinist. I think there's definitely a appeal there in terms of that watch.
All right. Well, Matty S is next, Mark. He says, Mark, what is the most unusual watch you have handled? That's a good question.
Unusual. I guess it would be I had the privilege of holding a de Bethune many years ago. I was going to a jewelry show in Vegas, and I sat next to a guy. And when you go on a plane going to Vegas at that time of year, most people on the plane are going to the JCK, a couture jewelry show. And we start talking what business you in, blah, 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 blah. And the guy happened to be the North American rep for de Bethune. So he let me play with one.
Nice.
A $42,000 retail watch.
Wow.
I couldn't really say much about it. It was just kind of cool and interesting. So that would be the one that would win the award there.
Huh. Cool. All right, Simon, you want to get Merle's question?
What do you think about Kickstarter programs?
I just had this conversation with somebody.
Was it Merle? Did you have that conversation with Merle earlier?
No, I had it with. So I've talked to. It's not for me. I'll start with that. It's definitely not for me. I think Kickstarter is great for people looking to get something started and don't have the investment capital for it. That's where it's good. I think a lot of these people use Kickstarter merely as a publicity platform, which I don't agree with.
I know that's a good point.
Yeah, I know what it costs to make a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1,000 watches, whatever it's going to be. And I look at some of these companies that are on there, and I'm like, come on, you guys got that cash, you have it. And we're looking to raise 20,000, but we raised 330,000.
Wow.
Well, then what'd you do? You obviously did something way wrong. You either didn't want to raise enough, or you're on it for nothing. You're on it for publicity. So that's kind of where I am. I'm not a fan of it. I would never do it. Simply because I don't have to. Okay, I've been doing this for 18 years, selling watches. So the business already has, a decent war chest when needed, and that funded Islander to start, and now Islander funds everything else.
Gotcha. All right, well, here's Adrian. Take this question.
So what we got here? Leonardo De Luzio. I hope I pronounced that right. You give me a right name to pronounce there, Steve. Mark, what's the watch that's most surprised you by its design?
I was a fan of Ballast. I used to carry them. Okay. Their watches, you wound them much like the Ulysse Nardin Freak. You wound them with the bezel, and you set the time with the bezel. And I thought that was so cool. I unfortunately couldn't make the brand work. It just didn't resonate with the customer. But from an engineering aspect, that was so nifty. I actually took it apart to see how they did it. They basically just had an interlacing gear between the crown and the bezel, and that is what basically you were spinning the crown, you just didn't know it. You were doing it by turning the bezel. And I thought that was super nifty.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Awesome.
I believe that there's actually one of the guys in the chat, if he's still in there, I think Ted Cornish watch reviews. I think, if I remember rightly, he had a ballast.
Yeah,
I don't know if he sold
they were
it.
great watches. They were one of the first guys to do Damascus steel cases. They did Cerakote cases. They did a lot of cool stuff.
Cool. Well, speaking of your biggest fanboy, Mark, the wristwatch weirdo is in the house. I love my Islander watches. The quality control and customer service is second to none.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Now, we do have another question. I'm going to read it now. Ernest Pardo. The question is for Mark is, why do you choose Seiko movements over other movements for your Islander watches?
So it was said before that, Miyota would be the first choice. But I'm not a fan of the 8000 series movements either. They uni wind, so the rotor takes off like crazy. There's secondhand stutter, which is, because it's an indirect drive seconds hand with the fourth wheel. So that sometimes people think it's a defect and it's not. I guess they finally upgraded the 821 to have hand winding and hacking, which is a good thing. Not that I care about it, but I know a lot of people do. Honestly, it's affordability. The Seiko movement is extremely, extremely affordable and extremely, extremely serviceable in the States. Seiko USA obviously stocks all the parts for Seiko movements, or I can just drop in a new movement if I had to. But obviously the parts in an NH36 and a 4R36 are the same. So if you need a day corrector wheel or date corrector wheel or whatever balance, I can get all those parts right from New Jersey.
Steve, just as a caveat to that, did you not say your watchmaker said before that there's a few differences between the 4R36 and NH36?
Yes, Mark, my watchmaker, when I had to get these monster movements, Mark, he told me absolutely do not get the NH 35 or 30. He told me, do not do it. He said, there's a huge difference, and I don't want to put them in your watches. I want to put the 4R36. And now I know that the NHs are mass produced for all the micro brands and things, but he told me if you open them up, Mark, there's clearly differences inside that he doesn't like in that one over the 4R36.
If I showed you both, you could not, and remove the rotor, you could not tell me which is which.
Right. But he can, because he's been doing it for the point, I guess, for 40-something years. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. You're right, Mark. If you showed me, I wouldn't have a clue. But I'm just thinking it's funny how watchmakers have preferences. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, so I've sold a lot of Islanders, and I know, I know the failure rates. And I've sold a lot of Seikos. Gotcha. I know the failure rates. Right. So same movements, just unbranded versus branded.
Right.
They're about the same failure rate.
I was going to say it bears out as to be pretty much the same then in terms of how they
absolutely.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, Simon.
To be honest with you, I'd go with that.
Right. Well, Simon, there's that one.
I did think that until obviously I don't have as much knowledge as Steve's watchmaker, so that was news to me when obviously Steve had relayed.
It was kind of controversial, Mark. Honestly, seriously, look, we were just having the show. I forget who the guest was. It was random that it came out. Well, because I was upset about paying $450 for my two used monsters, and then all this stuff came up. So yeah, it was kind of random and it was kind of controversial.
I think that's how it came about, because I just said, why don't you just put an NH36 in it?
Right.
He was he didn't want to do it, and I was like, why? Because I think that would be a perfect solution.
What did the 4R cost you to install?
Well, my watchmaker doesn't charge me nothing because I'm such a good customer, Mark, for free. Didn't cost me nothing.
Oh, that's still so you can't argue with free.
Right, exactly. So I'm not going to argue, Mark, with my watchmaker, because seriously, Mark, I buy my wife jewelry, I buy watches for just to give to people. I'm such a good customer of his that I never give him any crap. I'm like, yes, sir, whatever you say, and I will never ever go against what he says. I'm just taking what he says at it's face, what it's worth, what he says.
Right, I get it. Sure.
Yeah. Right. So, all right, Simon, you want to ask this to Mark?
One question is from Work Watch. Would you consider part buying the factory in China? You could then manufacture parts cases for other brands, along with increasing your own margins.
Would you consider part purchasing? Nah, I don't want to own anything in another country. And
I can't say as I blame you.
As greedy as it sounds, I don't want to do anything for anybody else either. You know, I want to focus. That's when you lose. You know, you lose your train of thought, or you lose your core competency. My core competency right now is producing a watch and marketing it and retailing it online. You know, in the USA, mostly for the USA consumer. So that's where I would stick.
Fair play.
Looks like Leon's Adrian. That's you, Leon.
Leon, what we got? Leon, what was your first thought when you were told the SKX was being discontinued?
Oh shit!
Oh wow! Leave it to Leon.
Yeah, that was it was in Basel in I don't even know when the hell it was. I guess it was 2019. Was 2019?
Right.
I think it was the last time I was there. So yeah, 2020 there was no show. It was 2019. I was in a meeting with Seiko, and there was some people from Japan, and that's when they told me, I'd heard rumblings about it for years. I mean, I've been rumbling since 2016, 2017 that it was being discoed. And yeah, when I heard that and the person told me, I'm like, oh, I keep hearing that, how do I know it's true? And she said to me, I'm the one that made the decision. So I said, well, that's interesting to know.
For what reason was it discontinued? I'm not saying I disagree, because I do feel as though, but I wasn't too fast personally. But I mean, generally, what was the reason?
The reason it's discontinued, as silly as it may sound, is because it was just sold everywhere on the gray market. And they have a really keen interest in cleaning up the gray market. Because obviously it dirties their brand. And so instead of trying to control their vendors, distributors as to where they're allowed to sell to, you can't trust anybody, even though the business is full of good people, but the business is also full of really crappy people. They just said, you know what? We're not making it anymore. So now you can't get it. And that was it. And then
surely all they're going to do is start in years to come, they'll be selling 5KXs and stuff in the same way. So surely you're not really eliminating the problem. You're just moving the problem.
Well, so they knew the 5KX was coming. I saw the 5KX at the same meeting, many months before it was released on the open market. I think they're really trying to take a much different stance on the gray market. I think they're controlling their production better and seeing where things go and tracking serial numbers a little bit better. I mean, from the standpoint of an outsider, it's so easy to say, how long, how can you not track down people who are transshipping? You just record serial numbers. But when you're making so many friggin' watches, it's nearly impossible
when you mass produce watches like a brand like Seiko do, obviously it's going to be very difficult to keep track of all of them. I do appreciate that. But surely that could also be a problem they face in the future, is kind of what I'm alluding to.
Oh, yeah, sure, they could. But I think also they're going to hopefully get around that by sunsetting products that are not popular and not keeping such a large catalog open.
They discontinue the watch that you put up recently, the SNKL 23J1. They discontinued that some time ago, and yet they're still being sold. How is that possible?
I just got 100 of them in yesterday.
Because I liked it on Instagram, so I was aware of it. But how are they still being sold so readily? This is gonna transition now to hearsay. I believe that the 7S26 is definitely stopped, not making it anymore. But there's a cache of movements that were, WIP work in progress, and they're completed movements and they're sitting somewhere. So what the hell are you going to do with all these movements? They still will make some of the they're not making an SKX, but they'll make a lot of the popular watches again and kind of rebirth them. So what you're saying is they're discontinued?
Correct. They're I mean, I didn't bother to look at it. I didn't bother to look at a serial number to see when it was
I hear what you're saying,
popped
though.
out. But you know, like Seiko USA, they still manufacture the SNK M97, the green recraft, which is a 7S26, the SNK P23, which is a 7S26, and that's official. So they're kind of still doing stuff. Like I said, discontinuing means different things to different people.
Well, I think the problem is that most people think when something discontinued, that means it's ended, isn't it? So that would, for layman's terms, if you discontinue something, I wouldn't expect to be able to buy it. And I'm just talking as a person here. Right. So I mean, you can talk about the caveats to that in terms of the little nuances, but generally, most people, general people, if I said to Joe Bloggs on the street that's been discontinued, he's thinking, okay, I can't buy that anymore. That's what I think. That's
what it means to a lot of people. But you know, if you're sitting on all these movements, what the hell else?
I was going to say, I guess if you've already made 10,000 movements. And you're going to discontinue that movement from today. There's still 10,000 movements out there that have got to be used up.
Correct, and they got to go through them.
Gotcha. Well, let's get on with a couple more, Merle, because Merle on time, Mark. And I guess this is a question for you and your experience of doing what you do. How long should a Seiko? And he's a newer collector. How long should a Seiko movement last? He's asking, Mark.
Between servicing, 5 to 10 years. More than likely, that's what it should be. With proper service and everything else, it should outlast you. I mean, all the parts are replaceable. Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, but eventually it comes down to the fact that a wholesale, you can buy an NH36 off of eBay for what, $25, $30.
Right.
So, if you're handy, you can replace it, and off to the races you go. It's to the point where it almost doesn't pay to overhaul, these inexpensive movements.
You're right, but something else too that's crazy, Mark, is I had a problem with one that I sent to a custom watchmaker, PK Horology. It was I believe, a 1989 Seiko with the Pepsi bezel. I sent it off to him because my watchmaker could not get the wheel that he needed. I sent it to PK Horology to see if he could replace the movement, but because of it being a vintage case, he could not. The NHs, all them would not fit it. He couldn't find a Seiko movement to fit into my vintage watch. So I sent it to a watchmaker, in Michigan, and tried to have it serviced, and nothing could really be done. The problem is the secondhand, Mark, it goes from doing this, then it stops. Then it beats like a quartz, and then it starts sweeping again. So it was just a wheel that couldn't be replaced. It was insane.
Missing teeth or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, Simon, you got the next question from Leon here.
Excuse me, Mark, you said in one of your videos you've never had an SKX returned with water leaks. That's impressive. I don't know if that's a question. I think that's more of a statement.
It actually is extremely impressive. It's amazing because it's a testament to the ISO 6425 standard, which means that they literally leak check every watch before it leaves the factory.
I did actually see another question up there, which I don't know if Steve's missed it or not, which is from Average Joe.
Okay, yeah, I got to get down to it because there's so many. Okay, I'm trying it. Okay, here it is. What is this?
You got it? There we go. Yeah, you got it.
There we go.
Yeah, cool. What's the deal with your logo? Average Joe saying that's the only complaint he's ever heard about an Islander. Personally, I don't have a problem with it. I quite like it.
Yeah, I don't care. It's the logo that was the store logo. It was created by my graphic artist a number of years ago as the headliner logo. I liked it.
Right.
And it stuck. So when I did the brand, I said, geez, I'm just going to stick with it. I know people don't like it, and I know people like it. I don't care.
But it identifies you, doesn't it? I mean, it's easily identifiable.
But there's a couple of things, isn't there? Because obviously, for continuity's sake, it's a good thing to keep.
Yeah.
Right. Or you also know that you're not going to appeal to everybody all of the time. There's always good. There you go. Off come the sliders.
It's all over my life. It's on my shirt.
You can't change it now.
Right.
No, I love it, and I'm gonna redo my patio outside. I already talked to the mason. I'm gonna have him do the logo in blue stone. It's gonna make it cool. I love it.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it's everything.
Cool.
It's everything to me.
Right.
It means everything to my family. So I don't. If people say, "Oh, it doesn't belong on a watch," that's fine. Don't buy it.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Fair. That's
Exactly.
fair.
I had
Right,
enough
right.
people. I had enough people buy them already. So obviously, I mean, haters are usually the noisiest people.
Yes.
So
That's true.
I understand that.
Right. Well, guys, we're going to take a couple more questions and then we're wrapping this up in like 15 minutes. So the next question comes from Matty S. He says, "What does Mark think of Orient Star? Does he feel they hold their own in comparison with some of the Swiss luxury brands?"
Yeah, they do. I love Orient Star. I don't know why there isn't more of them stateside. I mean, they're a little bit pricey, but for what you got, they were amazing. You just look at their GMTs.
Right.
They had really nice, obviously the divers, the saturation divers. They had the simple date models, ELO 5003W. I still know all the SKUs in my head. They had some with what they called SAR coating, which is super anti-reflective. It put Breitling and Damasco and Zinn to shame on the anti-reflective coating aspect. I love them. I think they're amazing. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's just a large focus point for Orient. I don't even know what Orient's doing right now. You know, with the whole Epson thing, and if that's their focus still, how important wearables is to them as a company. I don't think Orient is a large portion of the Epson business.
All right. All right, Simon, fire off on that one. Worth a watch.
Here we go. Yeah, worth a watch. Have you got any plans to release a watch with a loomed logo crown in the near future? I think that's similar to Zelos and people like that.
Yeah, I don't have any plans to. I'm kind of scared though. That to me is like, it's almost like a wear point, and I'm afraid that it's gonna flake out. Believe it or not, because I feel like the steel. Yeah, I got an engineer. I feel like the steel can't be etched as well as the ceramic can. You know, for adhesion between the paint and the substrate. So not yet. I admit it would be an awesome logo if it was loomed, but the jury's still out on it.
Gotcha. Bam. Leon
How
has
you doing
another
them
one.
questions?
I think we're getting low now, guys. I think we're getting very low on the questions.
Right. Well, Leon has one here, Adrian. But yeah, we are getting low on.
Oh, that's actually that's a good question. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you had well, he's got £100, so $130 to spend. What watch would you buy?
Right.
An Orient.
Awesome.
An Orient. That
Yeah.
was a quick answer.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people that if you're looking for an affordable diver and Seiko's not in the ballpark, then it's an Orient. But for $130, you can get a Bambino, you can get a Symphony, you can get a lot of stuff. I think they make an amazing. Orient still makes all their movements in Japan. Japan, they may not make the watch in Japan, but they're making the movement there, and that is what they do for the money.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I see Steve is scrolling through the comments there.
Well, because somebody was asking about the Simon dial. They missed out. It's already sold out. They came in late when Mark was talking about that, and Adrian saying he needs two.
Yeah, I think we're getting near the end now, guys. I think we're to the point where people have asked a lot of questions, and I'll go first. Mark, I appreciate your honesty in terms of the way you've answered these questions and also the way you put yourself out there. There's been no sitting on the fence, and I like that. You sometimes get people, they're too scared to say one thing for being misquoted or whatever. So I appreciate your honesty. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, all I can do is kind of reiterate that. It's very refreshing to have, when you get a brand owner on who's not afraid to answer questions, and be honest with them. That's really cool. Very much appreciate it.
It's silly, but it's the only way to. It's the only way to be. It's funny because I'm working with another supplier for stuff, and for Islanders. I'm up to 3 suppliers now, and they sent me the pro forma invoice and asked for 30%, and within 5 minutes I wired them 30%, and they were like, "Wow, that's the fastest this is ever." I can't believe it. I'm like, well, you're making something. You asked for 30. I'm going to give you 30%. It's amazing how many of my vendors tell me, especially stateside, that most stores just don't pay their bills.
Right.
I just don't get it.
Right.
No, I know. That's you don't need that. You're in business for a reason. And if you bought a product, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, it's usually the way it works.
You hope so.
But I didn't go to business school, so I don't really understand all the nuances of the value of money and stuff.
Awesome. Well, it's been great having you on, Mark, for sure. I thank you for coming on. Like I said, I'm just piggybacking on them. Yeah, I'm glad that you're, open to the stuff. And like I said, your brand speaks for itself, your customer service. I mean, listen, I've only ordered a bracelet from you, a monster bracelet for my Dracula, and I ordered a set of fat spring bars. I just want to say this real quick. Okay, so I opened up the pack, Mark. I got the bracelet out. Then I'm freaking out. Where are the spring bars at? But you know what Mark does? I like what he does. Mark staples them in the little baggie, Ziploc baggie, to the receipt. Kudos for that, Mark.
Well, I'll be honest, it's not Mark doing it, but yes.
Kudos. Because you know what normally I would do, Mark? This is what I normally would do. Look, here's my envelope. I'm opening it up and stuff's flying everywhere. And then I'm like, I didn't get my spring bars. Well,
it's like
when
Christmas
you attach
morning
them to the receipt, guess what? So right in your eye view. So I appreciate whoever's idea that is. I like that.
No problem. You're welcome.
One thing I'll say, when we come off air, I need to ask you one question. I don't think if people are going to be interested. It's about a bracelet. But before you shoot off, it'd be much appreciated just to sort of pick your brain for a second in terms of just a bit of advice, if you don't mind.
Right.
I think the other thing is as well, before you go, Mark, I mean, everybody in the chat must know who you are, but you need to give a shout out to your brand and your YouTube channels and let everybody know where to find you.
Yes.
Self grandeur. So the website is longislandwatch.com. The Instagram is Long Island Watch. The YouTube channel is Long Island Watch. Everything is Long Island Watch. The company name is Island Watch Incorporated. That's a whole nother story.
For another day.
We'll get there one day,
yeah. All right. Well, go ahead, Simon. Closing remarks, Adrian and me, and then we'll go off, and then we can still talk to them. Go ahead, Simon.
Guys, thank you for tuning back in, and even a bigger thank you to Mark. As I said, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you coming on and answering our questions, and obviously the questions of our viewers. And guys, we'll be back next week, and hopefully this isn't the last time we see Mark on the show. Hopefully he'll grace us with his presence in the future. And yeah, as you know, guys, what I always say is, don't forget to always watch the time.
You said it before me. Thanks for coming on, Mark. And like Simon said, thanks for being so open, so honest. It's really great of you to give up your time as well. Anybody who's asked questions, thank you as well. Yeah. Anybody that's just kind of sat there watching, or if you're watching while you're working or listening while you're working, thanks for joining in. Over to Steve.
Yes. Well, I just want to say thank you to the audience, because you know something, Mark, it is true in these chats. We have a great bunch of people that watch these loyally every week. And the chat and what's going on in the comments is its whole other entity of a show. And I just want to thank everybody for asking great questions. Mark, I want to thank you for coming on here. The thing about Mark that I know, he's very humble. Look, he could have looked at my channel and saw at the time when I was talking to Mark about trying to come on here, I think I had like 135 subscribers. He could have just not even answered me or blew me off. Thank you, Mark, for giving us the opportunity to have you on. I hope that, that you're happy with everything that went on tonight. Yes, definitely. We'd love to have you on again. Thank you so much. And I'm saying what I say at the end of all my videos. Please remember, time is short. Let someone you care about know how much you love them today. Thank you, everybody, for being on. And thank you, Mark.
Thank you.